Why is she starring in the West End version of Evita? I don't understand it.
I think a lot of the filmmakers thought that the story was over.
Zegler is being bashed because it's the biggest failure in history.
I mean, chemistry can't be faked, it can't be contrived, and it can't be made in a lab, hilariously enough.
It was meant to be her big return, Rachel Zegler, fresh off months of controversy, standing center stage at London's legendary Palladium. She was stepping into the role of a lifetime as Eva Peron in Evita, but instead of thunderous applause and rave reviews, something entirely different unfolded. Something no one saw coming.
Jamie Lloyd's Evita at the London Palladium merchandise with prices.
Just minutes into the premiere, the theater began to empty, not because the show had ended, but because audience members were walking out. Some were angry, others confused. A few even demanded refunds on the spot. What had been promoted as a bold new reimagining quickly spiraled into a public relations disaster. At the heart of the backlash was a stripped-down production critics slammed as soulless and elitist performance that left even devoted fans asking, what on earth were they thinking?
It was empty. It's opening weekend. Imagine sitting in there in an empty movie theater on opening weekend. The main star of the movie can't even attract butts in the seats. And how does she respond? By celebrating it?
That was only the beginning, because what happened behind the scenes after the curtain fell is where things truly got dark. Tensions erupted, tempers flared, and the carefully crafted illusion crumbled. Cast members reportedly clashed, crew scrambled to contain the damage, and what was meant to be a triumphant night turned into a behind-the-scenes storm no one was prepared for. June 14th, London. The West End's legendary London Palladium was electric with anticipation. This wasn't just another revival, it was Evita, reimagined by Jamie Lloyd, one of the UK's most provocative directors, known for tearing down theatrical norms and rebuilding them from the ground up. Lloyd had made his name on bold, often divisive interpretations, but even by his standards, what audiences witnessed that night was nothing short of shocking.
How are we feeling? There was no world in which I said no. Practically, thank you.
It's your West End debut.
I haven't done a musical on stage since my senior year of high school doing Shrek musical. It's quite a different one than Shrek. It's just a little bit. Nobody lets me be funny a lot. I love to giggle.
You are very funny, and there's a lot of fun in this rehearsal room. I don't think anyone's ever heard this song like this. And you sing it just impeccably. It's incredible. It's a major achievement.
Thank you.
Acting-wise and vocally. And you're an icon as well to many.
It's a scary thought.
It's true though. Yeah.
What a privilege. I mean, truly, to get to portray two really powerful Latinas in musical theater with Maria and West Side Story and now Eva Peron. It's like the stuff of dreams, really.
Yeah.
Oh, many expected a modern twist, yes, but not the complete removal of everything that made Evita beloved. The spectacle, the emotion, the energy. What they got instead felt more like a clinical experiment than a theatrical event. As the show began, audiences were greeted by a bare stage, no orchestra in the pit, no scenery, just stark lighting and stripped down, minimalist costuming. The grandeur was gone, and in its place was a version of Evita few recognized and even fewer embraced.
Be normal. Normal things are happening.
You met Jamie Lloyd? No, but what's he do? I'm asking, what do you do?
I just do my best.
Can't wait to see you in the Palladium.
My favourite theatre anywhere, actually. You're a fantastic cast. It's going to be a sensation, I know it.
Thank you, everybody.
Rachel Zegler, cast as Eva Peran, emerged in a plain white dress more like a ghost than a revolutionary drifting through a void. From the very first scene, an unsettling sense of detachment hung in the air. It wasn't that Zegler's vocals were weak. It was that the entire production felt engineered to keep the audience at arm's length. The emotion, the fire, the connection all stripped away. People began to shift uncomfortably in their seats, some whispering to companions, unsure if what they were watching was brilliance or a misfire in real time. A few even checked their programs, hoping for some kind of explanation, but none came. What followed was a deeply abstract retelling, more symbolic than story-driven, with visual metaphors standing in for character arcs and long, silent stretches intended to provoke thought rather than emotion. For many in the audience, it felt less like a musical and more like a lecture, or worse, a parody of itself. By the end of Act 1, a clear shift had taken hold. Applause was polite, not passionate. Faces looked tense, uncertain. And more telling than anything, audience members began exchanging side glances that quietly asked the same question: is this really Evita?
I wish the best for Rachel Zegler in her singing career, but please stop acting. Like, honestly, when you see her on stage, she had a beautiful moment in a reaction, but that's the only good moment she had, in my opinion. And it was when she was singing on stage, bringing life to other people. And you know, by all means, I believe, for Rachel Zegler, that is what her calling is. Go sing on a stage, bring happiness to people through music.
The funny thing is, my favorite scene of hers in this movie, she wasn't talking. Is that ironic? I wonder if we're going to get some hate for that. Is there actual fanboys that support Rachel Zegler and say, like, how dare?
For those unfamiliar with Lloyd's experimental style, the night was already testing their patience. But for the devoted fans, the ones who came expecting to relive the magic of a legendary West End classic, the production felt like a slap in the face. They weren't being challenged, they were being shut out. And for many, the decision to walk out came long before the second act had a chance to end.
One thing I didn't notice about Rachel until Addie pointed it out, and then once he did, I could not stop noticing it, is that she always has her mouth open. Like,
Doesn't shut her mouth.
not like not talking, just even when nothing's happening on screen.
I think she shut her mouth twice. And it's like, why? It's so annoying.
Well, I guess it's interesting because her mouth always being open is what got the movie into trouble in the first place, right? Weird.
As the second act began, the energy inside the Palladium had clearly changed. Whatever patience the audience had brought with them was gone. Then it started quietly at first. A seat here, a seat there, small groups slipping out during the slower moments. But soon, it was impossible to ignore.
I have to say, it was a lot more boring than I expected. I thought that it would be like at least like a fun kind of bad movie, but instead it's just more like really empty and hollow. Like, I went with my mom and she was like falling asleep next to me. I mean, it just kind of felt like very dull, like there was no magic there. Yeah, I thought like Rachel Zegler has a good voice, but like I honestly still feel like she was miscast. Acting is the worst acting I've ever seen her do, and I really like this is not even coming as a hater. Like my audience, there was a couple of chuckles and a couple of lines. They really weren't that good, but really not good.
Dozens were leaving mid-performance, some not even trying to hide their frustration. One video later posted to TikTok showed an entire row standing up during a pivotal scene and walking out without a word. It went viral within hours, captioned simply, "When Evita becomes exit, social media became a war zone." West End regulars, theater influencers, and even casual attendees posted their reviews, and they were not holding back. One critic wrote, "This is not Ava, this is self-indulgent performance art." Pretending to be theater. Another called it a masterclass in missing the point, but the harshest backlash came from longtime fans of the musicals, some of whom had waited years for a proper West End revival. They felt tricked, sold on the promise of a bold modern retelling, but handed something that felt like a deliberate mockery of the original. Refund requests reportedly spiked that same night. A staff member who claimed to work at the Palladium wrote in a now deleted post that they had never seen so many refund demands after an opening night. Audience members cited false advertising and misleading marketing, arguing that what they saw was so far removed from the spirit of the show that it bordered on deception. Some even threatened to report the production to consumer protection agencies for selling premium tickets to what they described as an empty stage in a one-woman protest piece. Worse still, reports began surfacing that some attendees booed during the curtain call. Whether that is true remains disputed, but the very fact that the rumor exists says everything. This was not a polite West End disappointment, this was public embarrassment, and through it all, Rachel Zegler, who once said she dreamed of playing Ava Peron, stood silently at center stage, facing the fallout of a performance that had just alienated the very audience it was meant to move. For many that night, Zegler was already a controversial figure before she even spoke. She was not just an actress. She was a symbol. Ever since her now infamous Snow White press tour, Zegler had been caught in a storm of criticism. She was attacked for calling the original fairy tale weird and dated, for suggesting the prince was a stalker, and for what many called a smug tone in her interviews to critics. She came off as dismissive, ungrateful, and too eager to tear down the very stories she was hired to reinvent. That reputation followed her to the UK, and when her casting in Evita was announced, the response was sharply divided. Some praised the boldness, others said flat out, "This is not casting, this is provocation." And unfortunately, the production did nothing to redeem her image. It only confirmed what people already felt. Critics said she lacked the weight and presence the role of Ava Peron demands. Her voice was technically fine, but her performance lacked emotional range. One viral post compared it to a school project that dragged on endlessly, but the criticism went deeper than talent. It was about trust. Fans believed that someone who disrespected classic Hollywood stories was now doing the same to theater. One West End regular wrote, "She is not honoring Ava Peron, she is rewriting her to fit some agenda." Then came the culture clash. UK theatergoers are not Hollywood audiences. They are not looking for viral clips or flashy edits. They want craft and depth, and Zegler, with her online fame and digital image, felt out of place from the beginning. Everything she did was watched, dissected, and shared, and after the show, the verdict was clear. Zegler was not just miscast. Many felt she should never have been there at all. Now, she was not just facing criticism, she was trying to salvage what was left of her reputation. While Rachel Zegler was the public face, Jaime Lloyd was the architect, and for many the true culprit of the evening. Known for his abstract, stripped-down approach, Lloyd has a cult following among critics who love his boldness, but for regular theatergoers, his Evita felt like a trick, not a vision. Gone were the songs, the drama, the pageantry, and in their place a cold skeletal shell of what once was a beloved show. To be fair, Lloyd had warned this would be a radical take. He told one magazine he wanted to remove the legend and show the real Ava as a flawed political figure. The problem was no one told the audience. The marketing was full of bright lights, Zegler's name, and vague promises of something new. Most ticket buyers thought they were getting a modern Evita not a dismantled one, instead they got 2 hours of cymbals pauses and empty stage wandering, and it was not just casual fans who pushed back, even those who usually support Lloyd were divided. Some praised the minimalism, others called it lifeless and pretentious. One headline read "All vision, no soul," and that view echoed across blogs and forums. People said they were not moved, they were preached to. Worse still, Lloyd's vision seemed totally out of sync with Zegler's presence. If he wanted a gritty, grounded Ava, why cast a Hollywood star with no West End experience and a history of controversy? That question is now at the heart of the backlash. Was this an artistic choice or a publicity stunt? Either way, it blew up as Lloyd avoided interviews. The damage was spreading. When you strip a story to its bones, there needs to be a heartbeat, and for many this production felt dead on arrival. Behind the curtain, things were no better. Leaks from backstage and West End forums painted a grim picture. The mood after the premiere was anything but celebratory. Some cast members tried to stay positive, others were reportedly crushed. Zegler, according to one crew member, left the building visibly shaken and skipped the usual after party. No toasts, no cheers, just damage control. Producers were caught off guard. While they expected mixed reactions, they did not expect walkouts, refund demands, and online chaos. PR teams reportedly tried to remove TikTok videos and push positive spin. But the story had already taken on a life of its own. Even behind the scenes, tensions were rumored. Zegler had publicly praised Lloyd's vision, but insiders say she felt exposed, unsupported, and unsure how to connect with the audience on such a bare stage. One industry comment summed it up: reimagining a role is one thing, leaving your lead alone in a vacuum is another. Box office pressure is rising, refunds are mounting, and future sales are uncertain. The team is stuck between defending the show or pivoting the message. Meanwhile, fans are still posting clips, memes, reviews, and takedowns. Some say Zegler has gone silent on production chats, and the mood in rehearsal the next day was cold at best. Whether the show survives its full run is unclear. But one thing is certain, they were not ready for the storm, and now a deeper question is surfacing. Was Rachel Zegler ever given a real chance, or was she dropped into a no-win situation? Her casting now looks less like creative vision and more like a stunt. Some believe she was picked not for her talent, but for her ability to make headlines, and if that is true, it is backfiring in a major way. Zegler rose through social media and Hollywood hype, but that fame does not always translate in the West End, where tradition and substance still matter. Critics say she brought an Americanized Gen Z energy to a role that needs gravity and maturity. But what if that was never her fault? What if she was set up to fail? Some in the theater world are starting to admit the truth. This was an impossible job, carrying the whole production on a bare stage under global scrutiny while trying to rebuild her image after Snow White. It was a recipe for collapse, and now the backlash has gone viral. Within one day of opening night, Evita was not just a controversial show, it was an internet sensation. TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram exploded with parodies, reactions, and brutal edits. Some videos showed people leaving theaters in dramatic slow motion, others spliced Zegler's performance into horror movies. Hashtags like Evita exit Zegler's zone and Not My Ava started trending. What was meant to be a major revival had become a worldwide joke, and it was not just fans, even theater influencers joined in. Some reviewers skipped their usual deep dives and simply said avoid at all costs. Others compared past Evita scenes with clips from the new show under captions like "From Legend to Lecture." One tweet read, "Jamie Lloyd turned Evita into a school art project, and Rachel Zegler is still stuck in tech rehearsal." The jokes came fast and hard, and for Zegler, who always walked the line between rising star and PR mishap, the memes only added to the narrative that she is becoming more punchline than performer. And what hurt most is that even her biggest fans struggled to defend her. Some skipped posting about opening night altogether, others gave polite statements about respecting artistic risk, which in online speak means we hated it. Few tried blaming the direction, not Zegler, but in public perception, nuance does not matter, only impact. And this show had plenty. Even fan pages from other musicals started weighing in. A Hamilton page joked, "At least we had a set." The mockery was relentless, and for Zegler, who once seemed poised to be a defining voice of a new generation, it was a harsh lesson in how fast momentum can turn. West and has seen flops before, but this was more than that. This was a moment, a digital wildfire, Cautionary tale in how celebrity and theater do not always mix, and the fallout is still happening. The Palladium has not pulled the show, but the buzz is toxic. Refund requests continue, reviews are still divided, and Rachel Zegler has not said a word about the premiere. For someone so active online, that silence says everything, because what Evita revealed was more than just a bad show, it was a culture clash. Jaime Lloyd's artistic gamble collided with audience expectations. Zegler's fame collided with tradition, and the people who paid for a modern retelling found themselves trapped in someone else's concept. And yet, the story is not over, because this flameout might become a turning point for Zeg.